every blessing. Tune my heart to sing thy grace. Streams of mercy never ceasing. Call for songs of loudest praise. Teach me some melodious sounding, sung by flaming tongues above. Praise a mountain fixed upon it, mount of thy redeeming love. Here I raise my Ebenezer, here by thy great help I've come, and I hope by thy good pleasure safely to arrive at home. Jesus only when a stranger, wandering from the fold of God, He to rescue me from danger, interposed His grace and love. Oh, to grace, how great a Savior, daily I can now receive. Let thy goodness like a fetter by my wandering heart to thee. Prone to wander, Lord, I feel it. Prone to leave the God I love. Here's my heart, oh, take and seal it with thy grace and love. Prone to wander, Lord, I feel it. Prone to leave the God I love. Here's my heart, oh, take and seal it with thy grace and love.
Well, good morning. It's good to be with you today, and good to be with my friend Aaron. This is the man who does so much at Westwinds in so many ways. Sometimes you see him doing lead singing on the guitar. Sometimes he's on the drums. Sometimes, actually, I've been here almost 2 years. There's no instrument you can't play, is there?
Sousaphone.
Oh, and maybe the bagpipes? You know,
I haven't learned that one yet.
But anyway, Aaron Zraik, he oversees all of our music, and he's a great musician and helps us worship in every way. And my name is Phil. I'm one of the teaching pastors here.
Hey, Phil.
Hey.
So this is our Common Conversations segment. We've been streaming these every Sunday at 10 a.m., so it's not like our typical live stream that we do during the other months of the year. But we've got a couple more weeks of this for you. And if you do want to catch the sermon from our outdoor service that's happening right now here at Westwinds, you can get that sermon at 6 p.m. Wherever you get socials, podcasts. It'll be posted online for you. So if you subscribe to Westwinds stuff, you will find out that sermon appears at 6 p.m. magically every Sunday. So, but what are we talking about today, Phil?
Well, we've been in the book of James this whole summer in all of our outdoor church, and we haven't been taking it in a chronological order in the book. There's so many bits of wisdom in there, so we've been focusing on one each Sunday, and this is the Sunday that is focusing on something that I need to hear. Yeah. It's about the power of our words and how important it is to recognize that. So it's the third chapter of James, first 12 verses. Can you read that for us?
I will happily read that. And we already planned this, so I already have it ready to go. I don't have to scroll through my phone now to find it. So this is James 3, verses 1 through 12. My brothers and sisters, not many of you should become teachers, because we know that we teachers will be judged more strictly. We all make mistakes often, but those who don't make mistakes with their words have reached full maturity. Like a bridled horse, they can control themselves entirely. When we bridle horses and put bits in their mouths to lead them wherever we want, we can control their whole bodies. Consider ships. They are so large and strong that winds are needed to drive them, but pilots direct their ships wherever they want with a little rudder. In the same way, even though the tongue is a small part of the body, it boasts wildly. Think about this. A small flame can set a whole forest on fire. The tongue is a small flame of fire, a world of evil at work in us. It contaminates our entire lives, and because of it, the circle of life is set on fire. The tongue itself is set on fire by the flames of hell. It's interesting that the word hell is lowercase here.
Yeah.
People can tame and already have tamed every kind of animal, bird, reptile, and fish. No one can tame the tongue, though. It is a restless evil, full of deadly poison. With it we both bless the Lord and Father and curse human beings made in God's likeness. Blessing and cursing come from the same mouth. My brothers and sisters, it just shouldn't be this way. Both fresh water and salt water don't come from a spring, do they? Or from the same spring, sorry. My brothers and sisters, can a fig tree produce olives? Can a grapevine produce figs? Of course not. And fresh water doesn't flow from a saltwater spring either.
That's quite a passage, isn't it?
Yeah.
There's a lot there.
A lot of like allegory, not allegory, like a
Metaphor.
Yeah.
Where
Analogy, that's the word.
Yeah, where he's got the bit of the horse and then the rudder of the ship, and I think the strongest one is the spark about, the tongue is small, but it doesn't take much. A small spark can have a big conflagration there. It's
that's instantly relatable.
Yeah, it really is. The fires right now in California and some in Greece. And I remember a few years ago when Australia was like just taken over. It was craziness. But it's funny because we've been kind of joking the last few weeks of like, sometimes James, it feels like he's coming across, harsh in some ways. And in this one, it's not harsh because he's saying stuff we already know, right? We know that your words can really screw your life up and can really do a lot of damage.
I can speak from personal experience and say that is probably true.
We all can. Every one of us have used words that have hurt somebody, and every one of us have been hurt by words. I feel like this passage is him kind of grabbing me by the collar and going, okay, Phil, this is important. I'm using strongly because I want you to listen to it. And the thing about it is he does start at the beginning and say, we've all stumbled. And I think that's what's so important because he's not even condemning us here for all the mistakes we make with our words. He's just saying, if there's some things you keep in mind, it's going to help you. And that first thing is stakes are high.
Yeah, all the metaphors he offers, it seems like don't really give you the clue that like he's saying that what we say is bad. He seems to be implying that our words are powerful, but then it sort of like takes this like 180 or maybe a 90-degree turn, this way, where he's like, setting us up to realize how powerful our words are, and then look at what you can do with them.
Yeah,
both for good or for worse.
Yeah, that you caught something there when you said that the word hell there was in lowercase. In the original language of the New Testament, the Greek language, the word is Gehenna, and that word actually, it was a reference to a valley right outside of Jerusalem. And when he said it, they all knew what he was talking about. And he said, and it was a trash heap. It was it was a place where they threw their refuse, including.
So it's not this fiery pit that everybody has in their imagination.
It was animal carcasses and all this kind of stuff, and even some scholars even believe that way back in Old Testament times they'd done human sacrifices there. So it had the feeling of not only a vile, smelly, terrible place, but also a creepy, terrible. And so he was saying that your language could get so ugly, it would be like vile. And that's what that was. That was a vile place. And every once in a while, I mean, we hear bad, people hate speech on TV and stuff like that, but every once in a while you'll hear someone, like express real hateful stuff, and you'll think, man, that's vile. And that's what he's saying. Yeah. It can get that bad, and that. So it's just kind of a warning. But then, what's so cool about this is that when he gets to that end where you read about, you don't have, you don't want to bless and curse. And he said, some of you bless God, and with the same mouth you curse.
Yeah.
And he specifically says, curse those who are made in God's image. So he's kind of teaching us that if we can just kind of see that no, there's not two sets of rules. One of the things people talk about, like you have people who are real friendly everywhere they go, and then they get home and they let down their guard and they're tough to live with their language, and you kind of.
I might be one of those people. It's possible.
My wife and I used to joke. We saw a comic where it was in a leadership magazine, and the pastor's coming home, and his wife says, "I got an idea. Let's try something different. Be charming at home and be a grouch at church."
Like a little cartoon sketch. Yeah. That's funny.
But he's kind of saying we want to be the same person everywhere, and so that blessing that we give to God and to people we love can also guide us in the tough situation, in the tough conversations.
Yeah.
And I think it's such a learning curve.
Right.
And most of us don't. Most of us we learn to control our mouths through our mistakes.
again, speaking from personal experience. Yeah, I remember back when I was in college, I had a mentor in college, and he, one time I was sitting down with him, and we just kind of met regularly just to like talk about life and that kind of stuff. And I remember going through a period very shortly before this conversation I had with my mentor about like conversations I would have with like my parents or like some close friends in my life or my siblings were like, they gave me no choice, or I gave them no choice but to let me know about how arrogant I was being with them and like just mean-spirited. And like, I just, I was kind of a know-it-all when I was a kid. So it was, talking was my way. It was like my superpower to just like dig myself deeper and deeper into every hole that I could find. And I remember having this conversation later with my mentor, and he said, I want you to try something this week. And I said, oh, what's that? He's like, I want you to approach every conversation by basically every time you have the opportunity to ask a question, just ask the question. Like if there's ever a moment where you should answer a question, go ahead and answer it. But otherwise, like if you are not asked to say anything or to answer a question or to speak, just ask people questions in every conversation that you have as much as you possibly can. And I was like, that's an interesting thought. So what you're saying is basically any conversation I engage with, I'm in college at this point, so I'm seeing friends all the time and talking to professors or whatever. Like his suggestion to sort of like give me a perspective shift, or just to like, because I might have been feeling like discouraged or kind of like feeling disconnected from people. He said, just try like asking questions as much as possible and as often as possible to anybody you're talking to, and don't offer an opinion or state anything unless you are asked to specifically, which I thought was a really thought-provoking suggestion from this mentor of mine. And I remember trying to do it. It was really, really hard to not offer my opinion to every person or offer my advice to every person who clearly, could use it in those conversations, because I, probably fancied myself a wise sage in my freshman years of college.
Well, I can kind of identify with that, because I get pretty opinionated on stuff, and one of the things I do is I'm so passionate about it because I've thought it through a lot, so I think I got good answers, and I can kind of run over people, and they feel like I'm saying, I know more than you, and that comes across kind of arrogant. It's interesting though that this in James at the beginning of the book, he has the little formula, and it's like so simple and yet so hard. And really, the formula is it's like what you were just talking about, because he says be quick to listen, slow to speak, and then slow to be angry. And the quick to listen is like it's not just hear, but it's understand. So try to understand, and then be slow to speak, because you're gonna go in your understanding, and then that kind of helps you with the anger. And that's kind of a simple formula, and yet it's not always easy to do. It really is.
It's like, it's almost like do these things in this order.
Yeah.
Like don't try to not be angry and then try, to say things slowly and then try to listen.
Yeah, exactly.
It seems like the order of those things actually matters a lot. Like listen, then speak. And maybe when you do those two things, you actually might find yourself being less mad all the time.
Yeah.
When those conversations with people.
I was reading that, and I noticed that in social media so many times, something happens, and it's like, first of all, people speak. They get to the keyboard. And then they, first they get angry. First they go, I can't believe that. Then they go to the keyboard and speak, and then they might listen, but probably not, because they've already made their statement. I thought, so much of the, and again, I'm not blaming anybody else. I'm as much at fault as anybody, but so much of the toxicity, I think, online is just that they got the three reversed.
Yeah, right.
Get mad, talk, and maybe listen, where he says, listen, then speak, and then your anger will probably, like you said, take care of itself.
I think it's like, I shouldn't say it's human nature. I think this might be maybe it's a Western way of thinking, but it's like, I think there is maybe this philosophy for culture at large. This is me guessing. I don't actually know if this is true. I'm sensing this, that everybody should offer their opinion all at once, and then we pick which one is the best one.
Yeah.
I think like that seems, when I think about the discourse, the public discourse at large, especially in our sort of Western American influenced culture, it seems like that seems to be the rule that everybody follows.
Yeah, and so what happens lots of times then is that everybody's opinion is elevated to truth, where if I just listened, I might go, okay, I didn't hear that part of it. Okay, I didn't realize that. Oh, well, now I can speak a little more balanced,
Yeah.
But before I would have just said, here's my opinion, and I'm saying my opinion's truth, Aaron. My opinion is truth,
Right.
And I just isn't it amazing what you can learn? You can listen to people because sometimes I was talking to somebody the other day, and we were talking about exercise and nutrition and all that kind of stuff. But he was just sharing with me some things that he'd gone through, and I was fascinated at some of the things he'd learned. And it was like, I could have told him my story real quick, but I learned so much just listening to him, and that was cool. And I think it gets to that perspective thing. Like I might be angry at somebody because of something they said. So I had a mentor, and he taught me this. He said, when you're going to have a conflict with someone, you don't tell them what they said. You don't tell them what they meant. You say, help me understand.
Yeah.
That changed my whole concourse of people. So like Aaron, you said something that it really bothered me. Help me understand what you meant by that, because I don't want to be angry at you. Well, then you can say, oh, dude, I didn't mean anything by that,
Yeah.
Or here's what I meant, and maybe I worded it wrong. But that whole thing of if I listen first, think of all the relationships that got shipwrecked that didn't have to, And I think that's why James is so adamant. He's going, hey, this is life stuff. So anyway, it's good stuff, and I can't improve on James, but
he's pretty succinct here. I think, in this passage.
Yeah, he picks the metaphors. I don't have to find illustrations for that. He says boom, boom, boom. So it's cool stuff. So yeah, it's a practical book, James, and yet it still kind of gets to the principles we live, but then it gets down to real practical stuff. So it's cool stuff.
Yeah, no, I think that verse you mentioned, the quick to listen, slow to speak, slow to become angry, really kind of like is a nice companion passage with the passage for today that we're talking about. And we have more conversations just like this that have been streaming for the past several weeks, and we have a couple more for you. But you can catch all these conversations that kind of go deeper on the passages we talk about on Sundays at westwinds.org/common. That'll be somewhere down here on the screen that you can look at. But yeah, you can catch more of these conversations. And again, you can get the sermon that Phil's going to be speaking later at 6 p.m. Will be posted on social media and all across the interwebs, the World Wide Web.
The WWW.
Yeah, that's right.
All right.
So thanks for being with us today, and we'll see you next time.
Appreciate it.
Thanks for joining us for Westwinds Church Online. We have more videos like this that live stream every Sunday at 10 a.m. And if you want to catch our outdoor sermon from our outdoor service, those are posted every Sunday at 6 p.m. during the summer. And if you are a part of our regular giving community, thank you so much. And if you want to make a gift today, you can go to westwinds.org/give for more details on how to do that. And finally, let me send you with a prayer today. May God grant you the wisdom to ask, the faith to take steps, and the patience to remain connected. Go in peace.